Hey, this is Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling with Platinum versus AEW Dark Elevation. This is from July 12th, 2021. An almost 2-hour show, 15 matches, and I got to see the majority of these matches because they did them before and after the episode of AEW Dynamite in Miami. A lot of competitive matches. This is again making a distinction between AEW Dark Elevation and AEW Dark, which are different shows. On AEW Dark Elevation, you're going to tend to get more competitive matches. I say competitive, of course, with italics, because most of them are foregone conclusion matches, but at least against people who tend to win matches otherwise. So you'll often have let's just call them an A-list star, against somebody who will pick up wins against jobbers, let's just call it what it is, or enhancement talent. But then they're not quite on that A-list tier, so they will lose to the A-lister. But in any case, if I deem the match to be competitive, it'll be judged on a 3-check scale. And if it is a match that is an enhancement match, it'll be also on a 3-check scale. But I'll let you know what's going on. Now on AEW Dark Elevation, this is, let me make sure I'm right about this, but I believe this is episode 18, it is, and out of those, half have really had the distinction of having 3 check marks all night long. So let's just jump into it. Thunder Rosa against Dream Girl Ellie, which was the first match that took place in Miami. And so we're keeping things more or less in order here. Thunder Rosa, of course, looks tremendous, has lately been winning with different kinds of submission holds. Dream Girl Ellie, certainly capable here, looks good. In the end, this is about Thunder Rosa. She wins with the Peruvian necktie, which was a suggestion, I believe, from one of the commentators on a previous episode. So I found that interesting, but Ellie looks good here. Thunder Rosa certainly does. 3 check marks, and we're moving on. Hardy tells production to kill the music and cuts a promo on Fuego del Sol, says how he's going to win 3 matches in a row, and he's going to beat Christian Cage on Wednesday and all this kind of stuff. Has a match with Fuego del Sol. At the end of the day, Matt Hardy beats him down, catches him in the leech. Fuego taps out. Sad days for Fuego. Sad days, sad days. 3 check marks, easy peasy. Riho against Amber Nova. This was one of my favorite matches that I saw live for AEW Dark Elevation. Amber Nova, really great look, really gets a good match out of Riho, and I feel like Riho has finally lost all of the rust that happened throughout the long COVID time where she didn't wrestle. This looks good, hits the stomp, gets the win, 3 check marks. We cut to Dustin Rhodes and Lee Johnson backstage. Dustin asking Lee Johnson if he's ready. Johnson most assuredly is. Dustin tells Jungle Boy that Johnson is the future and the now. Johnson says this is the biggest match of his life. I love it. Great little promo here. Powerhouse Hobbs against Baron Black. Baron Black always does a great job. Powerhouse Hobbs here, though, basically just crushes him, catching him a really good-looking spine buster. The work from Hobbs lately has been really great. His body looks fantastic. Easy peasy, 3 check marks. Yuka Sakazaki against Kylan King. Kylan King always does a great job. I'll call this a competitive match since Kylan King does get the wins and has more wins than losses, actually. Really good match. They both get a check mark because both of them looked good. Yuka looked good in victory, so he gets a 2nd check mark. And was anything advanced? I think so. I think we might see Sakazaki against Kylan King's kind of friends, Red Velvet and or Big Swole. So 3 check marks here. Great job. Max Caster comes out and raps. Pretty typical stuff here. Nothing mind-blowing, but an interesting 8-person tag. Chaos Project of Luther and Serpentico teaming with the Acclaimed against the Gun Club, in this case Billy and Colton, and the Varsity Blondes, who are there with Julia Hart. A good match where everybody gets to show their stuff. I'll call it competitive. Both sides look good. That's a check mark. A team wins definitively, for sure. Serpentico, you knew was going to take the pin. But letting Brian Pillman Jr. get the blind tag and the flying lariat for the win, I thought was a good move. That's a check mark. And we'll probably see more, and we most certainly will, especially between the Acclaimed and the Varsity Blondes. So something was set up for the future, so that's a third check mark. The distasteful Eiffel Tower thing in reference to Julia Hart. Yikes. Yeah, I'll just say that. Brian Cage against Allen 5 Angels. Boy, I would normally call this competitive, but this was clearly about Cage showing his stuff. Wins with the drill claw. Good stuff from Allen Angels, definitely making Brian Cage look the part. 3 check marks, and we're moving on. Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus are backstage. Jungle Boy is the first in AEW to win 50 matches. He says he's going to face a good wrestler in Lee Johnson, but he's going to win. Nice that they're setting it up with little promos. I like that. It's a good way to use a dark elevation. Layla Hirsch against Kelsey Heather. Layla Hirsch got a big reaction here. Layla Hirsch wins in quick fashion with that cross arm breaker. 3 check marks here. Ethan Page joins commentary for Scorpio Sky's match against Sean Dean. Sean Dean really getting to show out here a little bit, which was great to see. At the end, Scorpio Sky's going to win with the TKO, or his version. And he most certainly does. 3 check marks. Mark Sterling and Jade Cargill are at the podium. I'm talking about how Cargill is getting all of these promotional things outside of AEW. She's destined for greatness, etc., etc., etc. Keep putting it out there. It keeps working. Tay Conti against La Brava. I am not familiar with La Brava. And this is another match that goes very quickly, relatively speaking. So often Tay Conti will give the person more offense. And in this case, she does. But boy, she certainly looks dominant. Hits that Tay DT for the win. Now we have a competitive match. Jungle Boy again with Luchasaurus there against Lee Johnson with Dustin Rhodes. They really go back and forth, and this is probably the best wrestling match of the bunch. It looks really good. Check mark because they both look good. Check mark for Jungle Boy, though he doesn't win with the submission, which I think is kind of good because this is babyface versus babyface. There's something about slapping on the snare trap that looks really brutal. So here he gets that Rana pin, and I think it looks good. And will this possibly mean more stuff? I think what it does is it sets Jungle Boy up for this notion that he's really getting this singles push. And so 3 check marks, good stuff. We get a hype video for Miro, which again looks good, and all evidence of Miro's former not-so-great entrance into AEW are long gone, that's for sure. Red Velvet against Layla Gray. Layla Gray is a favorite of mine. Looks really good here. Red Velvet, though, very confident, very dominant in the win, wins with that chef's kiss, and so on and so forth. Not a very long match. 3 check marks, though. Jorah Jol is backstage, and he's going to accept Matt Hardy's offer, which I think is good. I think it's the more interesting choice to join that Hardy family office. So that storyline advances. And then we get Chuck Taylor, Orange Cassidy, and Wheeler Yuta. That's cool. Against Private Party and Jorah Jol. As predicted, Jorah Jol ends up getting pinned. He gets hit with the orange punch, and then Yuta gets him that backslide crucifix. So they Private Party berates poor Joel. 3 check marks, moving on. Hikaru Shida against Julia Hart. I'll call this competitive. Hikaru Shida definitely feeling confident. Actually, the loss of the title to me has kind of spelled kind of a rejuvenation for Shida, where she seems to enjoy these matches quite a bit. Definitely does a lot with the very green Julia Hart, who does look good here. So gets that full metal muffler and taps out Hart. A check mark for both of them looking good, a check mark for Shida looking really good in victory. And is something advanced? I do. I think Shida's just rolling on and showing her dominance, etc., etc., etc. She's not going anywhere. And then finally we get Angelico with the Hardy family office against Darby Allin, who's there with Sting. A very good match, a very good way to end the show. At the end of the day, Darby gets that coffin drop. The Angelico offense, where he goes for these different submissions, looked really good with Darby here. Really, really good stuff. So check mark for them both looking good. A check mark for Darby winning in dominant fashion and memorable fashion. And then a third check mark because something is advanced definitely between Darby and Sting and the Hardy family office. And then at the end, they have this stare down with Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky after Sting gets in some shenanigans. Stinger splashing the members of Private Party. So 3 check marks all night long. Good stuff from AEW Dark Elevation. And I'm Stephen Platinum.